Explore the vibrant arts and culture landscape of Michigan, a state with a thriving creative ecosystem that has birthed iconic movements like Motown and the Purple Rose Theater. Home to legendary musicians, writers, and artists, Michigan boasts a rich tapestry of cultural heritage known worldwide. Michigan Creates is a podcast series that will connect listeners with gifted artists and cultural institutions that are nurturing Michigan's vibrant creative landscape. Hi everyone, I'm Ara Tapuzian, and welcome to another episode of Michigan Creates, the podcast series that highlights artists and art organizations in Michigan. On today's program, I have the pleasure to speak with Amanda Stanger-Read. She's the executive director of the Great Lakes Performing Artists Associates. A very interesting organization and a unique one, I think. We'll be diving into the incredible work that this organization is doing to support and promote artists across the Great Lakes region. Let's get started. Amanda, thank you for being on Michigan Creates today. I'm really looking forward to having this conversation to understand a little bit more about your background, but also to talk about the organization you're representing today. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So let's talk about your background first. I mean, what is your artistic background that led you into this role?
So I was a dancer first. So
Okay.
I studied dance in college, and then I came out to the University of Michigan for my graduate degree, an MFA in dance and choreography. And I taught all around town, and then I opened my own dance studio, which I ran for 20 years. And after COVID, we gave it a good try for about a year, and then that was enough for me. And
COVID changed a lot of people's directions, I think.
Yes, for sure. And there were other people with more energy to adapt in ways I was maybe not quite ready to do.
Right.
So I took a little bit of time off and to try to decide what I wanted to do next. And an email came across my desk from Great Lakes Performing Artists Associates. And it turns out I had worked for that organization right after graduate school for a couple of years. So I was familiar with what they did and their philosophy, and they were looking for a new executive director, and I just reached out and said I'd be happy to help in any way, and the rest is history.
Yeah, well, you're doing more than helping. I mean, you are the current executive director, so you must have made quite an impression that they still remembered you from college days. So that's pretty terrific.
Mm-hmm.
And full disclosure, I was a board member, and then now I'm an advisor. But hey, let's still treat this like nobody understands or knows the type of organization that you're running. I find it quite interesting and quite unique. So Great Lakes Performing Artists Associates, kind of a long name organizationally, but tell the listeners what is this organization? What do you do?
Yeah, sure. Well, we are a nonprofit booking and management organization. So we represent artists that live and work in the Great Lakes region, performing artists. We help them find bookings. We help them with their PR, their marketing materials. We help them design educational programs as well, and basically just introduce them to presenters and venues in the whole Great Lakes region. Right. So it's encompasses Michigan, Illinois, Ohio, Indiana, Wisconsin, Western Pennsylvania, Western New York, and a little bit of Minnesota too.
So why was this formed? I mean, we've all heard of, obviously, booking and management agencies. I mean, these are private companies typically. You are not. You're a nonprofit. But what was the history of why this was formed?
Mm-hmm. The organization was formed back in 1978 by Theodore Letvin, who was then a piano professor at the University of Michigan. And he saw that many of his graduating students would give a career in performing a try for a little while and then might give it up because it was just too hard to break into, or they might leave the region and go to one of the coasts to try to get exposure in a bigger arena. And he really wanted to help support them both to stay in the performing arts and also to stay in this region. So he formed this nonprofit so that he could keep his fees low and to kind of reduce the barriers for those emerging artists, because it can be expensive to hire an agent and a manager and a PR person. It all adds up. And so he hoped to provide all of that at a much more reasonable rate.
Yeah. And did it start here? Again, you're covering the Great Lakes, so kind of a Midwestern region, but did it start here in Michigan?
I think so. I think most of the original artists that were represented were right out of University of Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And since then we've expanded more broadly throughout that whole region. Currently we have a few artists that live in the Chicago area. About 60-70% of them do live here in the Michigan area. And then a few in Ohio and Wisconsin.
You're not just providing bookings, although that's very important to an artist. And I do want to talk about the roster in a bit, but you're providing other resources, are you not?
We are. As I said, we help with website design. So we have graphic artists that we can work with and web designers that we can connect our artists to. We help them with their social media.
Your support mechanism, really.
Right. Yes.
For the artist.
And we also do occasionally run retreats for the artists, where a weekend retreat where we provide master classes. They sometimes they'll perform for each other. We'll do workshops on various topics like creating an educational program or anything to do with creating a Facebook event or how to drum up interest for an upcoming performance and things like that.
Yeah. When I'm talking to artists, I get a good sense for what maybe they're deficient in, where they need some extra help. And you talk about these retreats and master classes and kind of gave some examples of the type of things you'll do. From your vantage point, what are you seeing overall with artists that you're working with? What are maybe the top two needs that they need help with that's consistent?
Most artists are, really focused on their art, obviously, their the practice of the instrument that they play, the organization of the group that they're in, and they often don't have mostly the time to take care of the business side of things, to reach out to new presenters, to find contact lists, to maintain their press materials. It's very time consuming, all of that. And so that I would say is the top thing. And then also sometimes I feel like I can offer a little bit of an objective view of their programming. I talk to a lot of presenters, and I know what they like, and I know what they think sells tickets, and sometimes I can help an artist or an ensemble kind of rearrange their presentation so that it fits
the
It's what
program.
the need is out there. Hmm.
Yeah. Oh, that is actually quite interesting. So let's talk about the roster. You're representing how many different groups currently?
Right now we have 14 artists on the roster. So it's
Okay.
been anywhere from that number to up to over 20 at times.
And the disciplines. I mean, I know you've got musicians. Are they all musicians or do they do other things?
Mhm. Right now they're all musicians.
Yeah.
We have soloists, we have small groups, quartets, and one nine-piece big band at the moment. And they range genres all the way classical, jazz, folk. We have one singer-songwriter, um, world music. So yeah, so the
Yeah.
whole range.
It's definitely a nice range. And are you currently actively looking for additional artists? Or I know that we talked offline about, potentially, changing the model a bit, but I mean, are you looking for new artists, or how would an artist get considered to be, part of your organization?
Hmm. We are, I think in the near future, we are going to be looking to add probably about two artists to the roster. Um, and we have information on our website, which is greatlakespaa.org. There's an artist section of the website, and we has information there about how to get in touch with us. We will hold an audition in order to find our new artists. So there's an initial submission of some video and description of what the artists do, and then we'll have a live audition process
Yeah.
with a jury of local board members and other local artists from the region.
Is there a criteria for an artist to stay? I mean, you've had a lot of these artists I know for a number of years. Is there criteria in place, or is that maybe potentially part of the changes where you look at, well, at what point does, an artist or a group um need to move on? Because
Oh.
again, you're different, of course, than a private agency, where a private agency would want to keep somebody forever. Is there how long could an artist stay with you?
Well, that's varied, and at the moment we have some artists that have been with us quite a long time, and some that have been with us. We had kind of a batch of artists join the roster around 2019,
Okay.
so right before the pandemic.
Yeah. Great timing for
Right,
artists,
I
right?
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And what our hope is that for any artist who wants to expand their career past beyond this region, that
Yeah.
we can help them get ready to find an agency, a more national agency. So that's one of the things we look to do, is to nurture our artists until they're get them ready for that. And we have had a few artists do that and leave us for larger agencies.
Okay.
Um, and then beyond that, really, we check in annually and see how the relationship is working. And as long as the artist is getting what they need from us, then we have we keep them on the
Keep
roster.
them on. Yeah. And you've got to, I would encourage folks to go to the website and check out the different artists. I mean, I've utilized some of these artists, and I've gotten to know a few of them through your organization, which has been really nice. Now, as a nonprofit, and because the fees are lower, right?
Mhm.
In order to keep everything going and to do these types of master classes you talk of, you go after grants. I'm assuming you're always looking for donations. Maybe talk about that a little bit.
Mhm. Yeah, we typically get a grant every year, knock on wood, from the Michigan Arts Culture Council. and the NEA. So that helps to support our general operating. And we also reach out to local organizations like Kiwanis Club of Ann Arbor, and Towsley Foundation, and things of that nature to help support our caravan program, which is the kind of second aspect to our nonprofit mission, which is an educational programming mission. And we do also, we have get donations from individuals as well, and we run an annual campaign, and
Right.
we
Amanda, talk a little bit more about the caravan, because that's a interesting program where you're going into the school system. What's involved with that?
So typically we try to connect an educational outreach program to each general concert performance. We once we book a concert, we look to the schools in the area and see if we can make a contact so that the artist can go into the schools. They can do anything from a performance demonstration to master classes. We've sometimes organized residencies where the artists come in for several days in a row to really get some good one-on-one close-up interaction with the students. So our goal with those is to reach students who might not otherwise have a connection to quality live performing arts. So we look to the rural areas in Michigan, and
so post-pandemic, how hard is it? Or maybe it's not. Well, you're laughing. You think I'm going to ask you about how hard it is to fundraise. I think we all know how hard it is to fundraise. But how has it changed since we're out of a pandemic as far as finding gigs for these artists? I mean, is it getting easier? Is it still very hard to do?
Well, I started in this position in March of 2022. So I'm
Great
just
timing, huh?
right. So I'm just about into my second year, at the end of my second year, and each year it's gotten a little bit easier, and I can really see back in 2022 presenters were still very nervous about taking a risk on an artist they didn't know, and worried about ticket sales and filling seats, and but the mood has lightened up a little bit this last year, I would say. And audiences seem to really be ready to come back, and there's nothing like a live performance, and I think people are remembering that now.
I agree. We could bold that and highlight it. That makes sense. There's nothing like a live performance. Well, Amanda, it's been great talking to you, and certainly venues that may be listening to this program, hopefully they'll give you a call. Again, the Great Lakes Performing Artists Associates has a great roster of Michigan artists, some Midwest artists, but hey, we're pushing Michigan here, and that's sort of my game. But thank you for being on the program today, and wish you continued success.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ara. It was great to talk to you.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Michigan Creates. We hope you've had fun diving into the creativity of our state. From Motown melodies to artisanal wonders, Michigan never fails to dazzle. But hey, the creativity doesn't stop here. Connect with us online, subscribe to our channel so you don't miss new episodes. Help us spread the word and also share your own artistic stories. So until next time, I'm Ara Tapuzian, and I want you to keep those musical instruments in tune, keep those paintbrushes moving, and keep those cameras rolling. Remember, in Michigan, the only limit is your imagination. Stay creative.